let me introduce you Ken Cudmore as practice. Ken runs TSGI Technology Strategies Group, Inc., where he has a whole team there, and he probably does more shred work than anyone else in Alberta. He is probably Western Canada's top expert on shreds. He is, at our behest, put together a fabulous presentation. So, Ken, over to you.
Well, thank you, Mark, for that lofty introduction. Hopefully I can live up to it. As Mark said, I'm located here in Calgary and have been here for a number of years and involved with the program since 1990. So I've had quite a bit of experience seeing the changes in the program over the years. What is scientific research and experimental development? Well, it could be one of three things. The Income Tax Act defines it as being either basic research, applied research, or experimental development. And experimental development is by far the largest single category that you see on a practical basis in business. Some 90-some%, very high 90s actually, of all claims that we see going through our firm are with respect to experimental development. And experimental development has a couple of key ingredients to it. The work has to be done for the purpose of achieving a technological advancement, for the purpose of creating new or improving existing materials, devices, products, or processes, including incremental improvements thereto. So, if you have an advancement in a recognized field of science or technology that has the purpose of a technological advancement or the purpose and also the purpose of creating new or improving existing materials, devices, products, or processes, then you are in the SR&ED program. Now, there are three basic criteria that you have to look at as to whether or not you qualify or not. One of them we just read as part of the definition of SR&ED, and that is the technological advancement. So the technological advancement must be present. There must also be something called technological uncertainty. Sometimes people refer to it as a technological obstacle. So basically it's a situation where a qualified person couldn't determine the outcome without conducting an experiment beyond the routine solutions in your industry. And the third criteria is something that is referred to as scientific content. And scientific content refers to the experiment or the attempt at the technological advancement must be conducted in a kind of a structured environment. You don't go at it in a haphazard manner. It also must be documented, and there should be qualified people. This doesn't mean people walking around in white lab coats and goggles. That could be a source of SR&ED, but does not need to be. Most of the R&D that we see has nothing to do with people that look like that. And the documentation that you need is also something that can be quite variable. So people shouldn't be put off by the fact that the documentation is required, because I think you'd be surprised at how much contemporaneous and collaborative documentation you actually have that is naturally produced as part of your business function. So those are the three criteria then determining whether you're in SR&ED. There must be the technological advancement, there must be a technological uncertainty, and there must be scientific content. The next question that usually people ask is, well, what work is going to qualify? Well, that really comes to, again, a definition in the Income Tax Act where they look at a number of different activities. It's work undertaken by or on behalf of the taxpayer, so the words on behalf of the taxpayer means you can use a contractor to do some of your SR&ED. And it can be things like engineering, design, operations research, mathematical analysis, computer programming, data collection, testing, or psychological research, where the work is commensurate with or directly in support of the technological advancement you're seeking to achieve. So those types of activities is really where all of the money is going to be found in your SR&ED project. And those 8 particular categories are specified in the Income Tax Act. They are, you can have, as a, for instance, routine engineering, as long as the routine engineering is done in support of the technological advancement you seek to achieve. Now, because the definition of SR&ED opens up, the preamble to it basically opens up all fields of science and technology, CRA, or Department of Finance, has determined that there are some limits to what they're prepared to accept. So they have a whole bunch of exclusions to fields of science or types of things that they do not wish to give SR&ED investment tax credits for. And those things are also listed, things like market research, quality control, research in the social sciences or humanities. So in other words, a business application wouldn't qualify, but if the business application involved things like a computer program that was related to satisfying a business problem, if you could prove an advancement in information technology, then it would qualify. But it wouldn't qualify just because it solved a business problem. Commercial production is also limited. Style changes, so in other words, the change of a color, even things that are patentable but really don't involve technological advancement or technological uncertainty would not be an eligible type of activity. Routine data collection also is not allowed. And the big one in the Western provinces is prospecting or drilling for minerals, petroleum, or natural gas. The challenges that CRA obviously the program's been around a long time, since 1985, and because most of the provinces allow the federal government to administer their programs, CRA is really the main player that sets the rules for how claimants will be successful or not successful in making a claim. CRA is attempting to streamline or automate the SR&ED process, and what they have done is in the last couple of years, they have changed the way you describe the work in your income tax application. And what they've done is they put a limitation on the number of words that you use. And these details, what they're trying to do is they're trying to focus the taxpayer on the scientific aspects and get them away from some of the business aspects that most taxpayers tend to focus on. By reducing it to 700 words as a description for the work performed and 700 words for the technological advancements and technological uncertainties, they're hoping to streamline or focus the taxpayer more on the issues that they think will be important in helping them decide whether or not your return or your claim needs to be looked at more closely, resulting in an audit on their side. So one of the good practices that you might find if you are in the process of making a claim is to not only do what is effectively an executive summary that goes to CRA, but to have a much more detailed report that you develop and have available for CRA should you be asked to audit it, which could be one to 2 years after the work is actually performed. One of the questions we often get asked is what costs can be claimed? Well, clearly labor is a big issue, and in fact some of the provincial programs, that's the only category that they will give you investment tax credits on. The federal government gives money, of course, for labor, contractors, materials, leases, capital items, and overhead. And particularly in companies that are in the oil and gas area, this overhead item is actually a very large category because a lot of their costs don't fall into the other categories. So, but for smaller publicly listed companies, labor would be a very significant component of your claim.